Okay, have I got a story for you today? It's about a business deal that looked absolutely perfect on paper, but went south in a really spectacular way. And it all boiled down to a single, fascinating question about truth, lies, and what happens when we choose to say nothing at all. Let's dive in. So just imagine this for a second. You're trying to make a deal, and you tell someone a fact that is 100% absolutely true at that moment. But then, before any papers are signed, things change. And that fact? Well, it's not true anymore. So what do? Are you required to speak up? A really amazing court case from way back in 1936 actually gives us a crystal clear answer. So let's set the scene. It's England, 1934, and our main character is a guy named Dr. O'Flanagan. He's built this really successful medical practice, and he's decided it's time to sell up and retire. And along comes a potential buyer, a Mr. Witt, who is very, very interested. Now, during their very first meeting in January, Dr. O'Flanagan tells Mr. Witt that his practice is basically a gold mine, that it brings in a ton of money. And this is the most important part of the whole story. When he said that, it was completely true. He told him the practice was making £2,000 a year. You've got to understand, back then, that was an absolute fortune. I mean, it made the deal seem like a no-brainer. So the negotiations kicked off on this really solid and totally factual footing. But then, just as things were moving along, something happened that no one saw coming. Between that first conversation in January and when the final contract was supposed to be signed in May, everything changed for Dr. O'Flanagan. The doctor got seriously ill. I mean, so ill he couldn't work anymore. And for a medical practice that is literally built on the doctor being there, this was a complete disaster. As you can imagine, the patients started leaving in droves, and the business just cratered. And the difference is just wow. I mean, look at this. In January, you've got this thriving practice raking in £2,000 a year. But by May, when the deal was ready to close, the income had crashed to just £5 a week. The business was basically worthless. And this brings us right to the heart of the matter. As his business was collapsing around him, you know what Dr. O'Flanagan told the buyer? Nothing. Not a word. He let Mr. Whitman continue to believe he was buying that gold mine he'd heard about back in January. So, Mr. With signs on the dotted line, handing over his money for a business that's now a hollow shell. Can you even imagine the shock? But this is where the legal gears start turning. I mean, sure, it's not fair. But was it illegal? The doctor never actually told a lie. He just kept his mouth shut. Well, of course, Mr. Witt sued to get out of the deal, and the case went all the way up to the Court of Appeal. The judges had to figure this out. Can your silence, in and of itself, actually be a lie? And what they decided changed contract law forever. And here is the genius of their ruling. The head judge, Lord Wright, basically said that the doctor's initial statement, the "it's a gold mine" part, wasn't just a snapshot in time. No, it was a promise that was meant to be true for the entire duration of the negotiations. And this gave birth to this incredibly powerful legal idea called continuing representation. What it means is simple. If you say something to convince someone to sign a contract, that statement stays live and active. If it stops being true, you now have a duty to correct it. Your silence isn't an option. So the court's logic was beautifully simple. Step 1, Dr. O'Flanagan made a true statement. Step 2, things changed and that statement became false. Step 3, he didn't tell anyone about the change. And boom, Step 4, his silence turned that originally true statement into a legal lie. The court sided with Mr. With, and the deal was off. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a cool story from nearly 100 years ago, but what does that have to do with me? Well, it turns out this principle is alive and well, and it affects all kinds of deals you and I might make every single day. Just think about it. You're selling your house and you tell a potential buyer the roof is in great shape. But before they sign, a huge leak starts. Well, you've got to tell them. Or you're selling your car and you say it runs great, but then the engine starts making a horrible noise. You have a duty to speak up. It applies to everything from massive corporate mergers to something as simple as a job interview. So the huge lesson from this old case is incredibly relevant today. It's not just about not telling active lies. Sometimes when things change, staying silent is just as bad. When there's a duty to speak up, your silence can actually become a powerful form of deception.
It's a pretty powerful idea to keep in your back pocket, isn't it? It makes you think not just about the words you say, but about the truth you allow other people to keep on believing. So in your next deal, your next big conversation, maybe ask yourself, what unspoken truths are speaking the loudest? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.